Hey gang, what's going on? Juan here. Now, judging by the thumbnail, you know that the topic at hand is related to the WWE Draft, which, by the way, we did our own mock draft with Raw and SmackDown, where Keith was the hypothetical GM of Raw, I was the one for SmackDown, Ryan played moderator, and we had a really fun 40-plus minute video, which I believe I got the better roster, but you let me know which one you prefer by dropping a comment on that video as well as this, because with the roster and the draft, everybody keeps talking about Raw and SmackDown, NXT guys, are they going to be called up? And historically in the podcast, every now and then I bring up ridiculous ideas that may not happen, but they're really fun to consider or even contemplate in some way, shape, or form. And that's what I sort of want to do here, because with the draft, yes, a lot of guys are going to be moving up. We're thinking like Finn Balor, maybe some tag teams. Like NXT is not going to be the same product, right? Now, when you go back to the very beginning of NXT, people forget that we had a lot of guys from the main roster go down to NXT. Now, maybe they weren't high-tier guys, although we did have a CM Punk Dark Tag Team match, which finally came out in that NXT's Greatest Matches Volume 1 thing. But guys like Jinder Mahal, we're talking about Damien Sandow, Cesaro, Tyson Kidd, Natalya, a lot of people from the main roster went down there, and they very much transformed their careers, right? Like, there were people that weren't really doing all that much, but their NXT career, like Emma, Emma was doing this, and then she became the person she is today. She got injured, but that's another story. And I have three different people here that I believe could benefit from this treatment in very different ways. So I want to kick it off with this guy right here, Dolph Ziggler. Now, Dolph Ziggler has really not been doing much, if anything, in the main roster for such a long time. I think that going over to NXT would completely change what his career has been up to. This guy is a workhorse, right? Like, whenever he gets into the ring, he always has a great match. But at least to me, they don't matter anymore, because how many times can you be that underdog that oversells everything 1,000 times? And here's what I would do with Dolph Ziggler. You put him in NXT, right? Like, he's a very optimistic individual, at least his character is. So keep that for the beginning, where he is happy to be there. But then every now and then he'll watch a TV, he'll watch the network or something, and he sees that the main roster is doing very well without him. So slowly but surely, you see him getting more serious, getting upset, getting a little bit obsessed about getting to the main roster, to the point where he tries to just take NXT hostage with the hope that the main roster, that whoever's the GM of Raw or SmackDown, will want to put him back in the main roster. And that can really revitalize his career, because at this point, what does Dolph Ziggler have to do, in the company, realistically? He's already been world champion. He's already been a Money in the Bank winner. He's had a lot of opportunities. Unfortunately, they're sort of followed up by concussions and different injuries that sideline him. But at least this, to me, could be the last real good opportunity for him. Now, at number 2, if anybody that listens to the podcast knows that I'm a huge fan of Fandango, a.k.a. Johnny Curtis. I loved NXT Redemption. I think that this guy, whenever he had a sort of Let's Get Weird character in NXT Redemption with Derek Bateman, who's now Ethan Carter III. He does have a lot of potential. And the Fandango character from day one, everybody knew, this doesn't have legs. Dancing characters, unless your name is No Way Jose, they just don't really have what it takes to have this long-term thing. You beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania and then proceed to do nothing. How many times do we even remember or forget that even happened? So put him back down there and keep him in that similar type of character. You don't have to do a lot. I think it's just give him the spotlight. Whenever this guy does something that is fun or cool, like we have the whole, I'm going to call him Febreze, because even though they're Breezango, they should be called Febreze. Screw copyright, right? Like, Fandango really does have a big opportunity to go over to NXT and have a little bit of fun, but show when I can get into that ring, I can get the job done. A good example would be his tag team partner, Tyler Breeze, who is somebody that can sort of tutor him. Like, say they're both backstage, right? Tyler Breeze doesn't get called down to NXT. He can sort of let Fandango know, okay, guys, or okay, Fandango, This is how NXT is. When you go down there, you're going to be faced with a lot of opponents, a lot of opportunities. You may not necessarily win, but being in NXT is what got me to the main roster. They can have that conversation, and that can be the character where even Tyler Breeze can be watching Fandango's progress and either get frustrated or motivated for the guy, almost like Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder, who, Zack Ryder's in the main roster, but then he's also down at NXT. I believe that this is a tremendous opportunity for him because otherwise, what do you do with Fandango? I just don't know. And the last and third option here that I want to bring up may be the most controversial. I know that not a lot of people may love it. Even when I pulled this list up initially, I was like, Juan, what is wrong with you? But Sheamus. Now, once you get the limes out of the way, Sheamus is a former WWE champion. Put that to good use. The man beat a lot of opponents. This man battled Triple H. He battled so many people, yet now he's just a dude with the mohawk who's in the Ninja Turtles movie. Make something out of this. His whole character in the main roster right now is involving Apollo Crews. These guys that are being called up, right? They're going to take a spotlight. What if we switch things up? What if Sheamus gets forced to go down to NXT and now all of a sudden it's, now I'm the one taking the spotlight. Yeah, that is exactly what I want. I'm going to take over the show. Different from what Dolph Ziggler would be, because the whole thing with Ziggler would be that, he wants the spotlight from the main roster, so he simply tries to look as great as he can in NXT. Now, with Sheamus, the difference would be from day one, I'm just going to take everybody out. I mean, we're talking about DQ finishes, bro kicking everybody. Sheamus is noticeably taller than the majority of the roster, so it's not like it's going to be that difficult to really portray him as a real threatening force. That's just going to come in naturally, and I would like to watch that. It changes the product because now it's like, oh man, who's going to beat this guy? He is a former WWE champion. And when you think about guys like Finn Balor, now we have Samoa Joe, of course, but Finn Balor had a really, really long title reign. And who else in the NXT roster, with the exception of Samoa Joe, can really do that in the same way? And I don't think there's a lot of people. And when you bring up Sheamus, it's like, yeah, man, because he's a former champion. Who's going to tumble him down? And whoever does, you just beat a former WWE champion. You make NXT an overall better product. You have a chance to showcase Sheamus in a completely different way, because I, for one, don't care about Sheamus right now. And this would make me care about him because I have an opportunity to see a different side of him from a wrestling standpoint. You have more time. The spotlight is more about you, and you're treated as a commodity. Maybe you bring up a couple of ticket sales for the NXT house shows. It's going to be a little bit weird, yes, the idea of Sheamus possibly wrestling at a gym hall or something. But how many NXT guys, wrestle at a WWE house show? So Sheamus can just continue to do the house show route with WWE, but then be in NXT TV. They tape multiple episodes, so it's not like logistically this is impossible, but it's something that I would love to see. So to recap things, we have Fandango, who can go down to NXT with a similar route with some guidance from Prince Pretty, and maybe just shake things up a little bit. You have Dolph Ziggler, who is going to start all happy and joyful, and then he is going to take over because he wants to go back to the main roster. And last and not least, Sheamus, who can go down there and say, you know what? Forget the main roster. I am a huge fish in a small pond, and I like this pond, and I'm going to take over it because people think that NXT is the hot stuff. Sheamus is the hot stuff. I'm not really Sheamus, but you get the point. So, gang, now that we've gotten that conversation out of the way, who do you think? Tinfoil hat. Ridiculous. Forget about what WWE would or would not do. Just have a little bit of fun with this. Who do you think would be cool to see go down to NXT? One guy that was originally in my list, but of course the man was released, was Damien Sandow, who was down at NXT during the very beginning. I would have brought that guy down, retransformed him, and sent him back up. But yeah, let me know. Drop a comment with that. Keep in mind that we are going to be talking about the WWE Draft on a special podcast episode. Our podcast is traditionally, hi, Sheamus, is traditionally posted every Tuesday night, but the WWE Draft takes place on July 19th. That is the Tuesday, the live SmackDown. So we're going to be covering the draft on July 20th. That is the Wednesday, so the podcast is moving one day over. Now, as a little bit of a hint, every weekend video, we do discussion, we do gameplay, unboxings, a variety of different things. Now, pretty soon, you see this Kurt Angle here. I believe some people, you may have been watching this video and thought to yourself, why does Kurt Angle look like crap? This is a guy that we may see in the draft pretty soon. I'm going to be unboxing this. This is 10 plus years old. No lie. I mean, look at the thing. It looks like crap, right? I'm going to be unboxing this Rumble head alongside another one in a future video. So if you have any suggestions for topics for Square Roundtables, which is when we gather people up, we had a recent one about wrestling managers. Check that out, and everything else. If you like the channel, make sure to subscribe, and if you want to support us in any way, shape, or form, get yourself a Byte That t-shirt. Wear it proudly. So thank you for watching, and we will be back with tons more right here on Byte That.